It is so hard to be a man these days that many men are just becoming women. What's worse is that society will deem you a toxic masculine man if you exhibit any traits of masculinity. If you're firm, if you are resolute, if you speak with passion, if you only like sticking to the truth and not necessarily caring about people's feelings, you are defined as toxic. Well, in this video, I will discuss 4 toxic masculinity traits straight from the Bible. This is biblical wisdom, godly wisdom. You don't want to miss this. So as men, we can sometimes exert our own will over other people. In fact, sometimes it can become a contest that it has to be our way or the highway. And now I understand that if you have a leadership role in a team, there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be times where you need to exercise authority. But I would submit to you that if you lord over people, if you exert your will over other people, even if you're forcing yourself upon other people, making them bend to your will, even if you have authority, you shouldn't have that authority. The Apostle Peter in 1 Peter 5:3-4 states that I exhort the elders among you, so these are the leaders, as a fellow elder and witness to the sufferings of Christ, as well one who shares in the glory about to be revealed. Shepherd God's flock among you, not overseeing out of compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you, not out of greed for money, but eagerly, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock, that you shouldn't domineer over that person. Number one, because that's not how you want to be treated. I mean, one of the keys to a Christ-filled walk is treating others as you want to be treated, as you want people to treat you. Now, you could be wrong, and the person who is over you, is managing you, an elder in the church, will have to correct your behavior. That's one thing. But even in that, there's a way to do it. Jesus lays it out in Matthew 20:25-28. So you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those in high positions act as tyrants over them. It must not be like that among you. On the contrary, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So Jesus here is explaining the separation between Christian and non-Christian in leadership. The appropriate way to be a leader is to serve. Jesus was a perfect example of that servant leadership. And I talked about this in my biblical alpha male series. I'll post a link somewhere so you can, but you can find it in the playlist on my channel. But you're not supposed to lead by taking over a person's will and forcing your will upon theirs. If you have the better avenue, if you have the better perspective, teach. Opponents must be gently instructed. The Apostle Paul taught that in 2 Timothy 2:24. Opponents must be gently instructed. If you don't want somebody lording over you, if you don't want somebody taking over and not allowing you to have any participation, any input, then you shouldn't treat other people like that. And that is a toxic masculinity trait. Greed. Probably one of the biggest reasons why men work hard all the time. Men are constantly trying to level up, which is a good thing. As a man, you should be focused on making yourself better, getting better at your craft. But let's just be honest. You want more stuff. You want more stuff. You want more women to be attracted to you. Bigger and better is the centralized heart behind greed. You just never satisfied with what you have. And this is toxic because it will lead to a life filled with dissatisfaction. You'll always be looking for more. You'll never be content. And that eventually will end up leading to your destruction, death. If it's working too hard, if it's not recognizing what you have, you'll be unhappy. You will be unfulfilled. And the writer of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 5 and 6, keep your life free from the love of money. Be satisfied with what you have, for he himself said, I will never leave you or abandon you. Therefore, we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? The love of money is the root of all evil. It's definitely a spirit. Money is a spirit. Possession is a spirit. It's a spirit that could influence you and guide you and lead you to be domineering. It could lead you to being dissatisfied. You don't want to be controlled by anything but God. And as a biblical alpha male, as an alpha man that is desiring after God's own heart, avoiding these biblical toxic masculinity traits, you don't want to allow the spirit of greed to influence your decision making. When you know you shouldn't be going down a path, you know you shouldn't be taking a certain job because it's in a different place. You know God doesn't want you. It's in it's going to take up all your time when you know God probably wants you to do something else that may not make as much money. Don't let your greed change you. Don't let your greed knock you off the path of God, and it will. All of these toxic masculinity traits are basically leading you off of the path that God has you on. Point blank, period. The third toxic masculinity trait, arrogance, haughtiness. The belief that you are the center of the universe. The belief that you are it. You are a celebrity even though you ain't got no talent. You're the end and the beginning. It's all about you, and you must be recognized. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence. Confidence means you're sure of yourself and what you know, who you are, where you're going, where you've been. Arrogance, you're requiring other people to recognize you. You have to have another person say that, you know what, that guy's it. It's a need for recognition. It's the thought that everything you come up with is just diamonds. And you know what? There's a huge problem with haughtiness, and it's in Proverbs 6:16 through 19. Check this out. The Lord hates 6 things. In fact, 7 are detestable to him. Arrogant eyes. That is the first thing that's said. Arrogant eyes. A lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. So the first thing listed in the things that God hates is arrogance, haughtiness in other translations. When you are arrogant, God, he does not like he hates you, but he hates when you act arrogantly. And let me tell you one thing, one thing to avoid is being hated by God. That just sounds like it comes with a whole bunch of issues, whole bunch of destruction. And in fact, another proverb, Proverbs 16:18, pride comes before destruction and an arrogant spirit before a fall. Again, this is a spirit. He that exalts himself, this is Jesus. He that exalts himself will be humbled. He that humbles himself will be exalted. People don't like somebody that's arrogant. People aren't going to want to work with you. This is going to be a pit in their stomach every time they think about hanging out with you, working with you. I'll tell you one thing, when you're humble, when you walk, not believing that everything is about you and that you are the king of the universe, people just want to be around you and people will help you. The fact is you need other people to be successful. You can't do it all by yourself. You need to network. Other people know people. Other people have access to things you don't have access to. But when you are arrogant, when you're haughty, and that's how you carry yourself, they're gonna skip over your name. And finally, vengeance. Taking revenge on people you don't like. And this is probably the one thing that men really struggle with. I mean, all the men I talk to, it just takes a reason. Just takes a good reason. Fill in the blank of the reason. They lied to me. She betrayed me. They betrayed me. They were acting out of pocket. They talked bad about whatever. Somebody has sinned against you. Somebody did something bad to you, and you have the need to get them back. And in fact, you believe that it is required. Like it is a law. It is a man law. When somebody does something to you, you got to do something to them. And it's an emotion. It's an emotional response. It's an emotional response to trauma. So I get the need. I understand where it comes from. I understand why you feel that way. But it's toxic. It's toxic because no matter what you do in revenge, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to change anything. In fact, it's going to imprison you. It's I see you, Reggie. Yeah. I wonder, this is my first one. Oh, that was easy. It says, oh, please talk about this one. Vengeance is mine. Says who? That's exactly right. I mean, honestly, this is probably one where I get the most pushback when I show men. When I try to show them how God always has a better path, better plan, even in this, they just don't believe me. They just don't believe me. And this is Romans 12:9. It says here, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Give careful thought to do what is honorable in everyone's eyes. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not avenge yourselves. Instead, leave room for God's wrath, because it is written, vengeance belongs to me, says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. For in doing so, you will be heaping fiery coals on his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. So let's talk about this. Let us talk about this tough spiritual practice. This is definitely a spiritual practice. This is not a flesh thing. So you're never going to get into your flesh. You're never going to get to the point where, you know what, I don't feel like taking revenge. So first it says, give careful thought to do what is honorable in everyone's eyes. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Give careful thought. Revenge is an emotion. Revenge is a response. I mean, a reaction. There's no thought behind it. And when you act out of revenge, you're acting out of impulse. Impulse leads to death. To do what is honorable. Revenge is not honorable in everyone's eyes. And there is no peace. There is no peace. And look, it says, listen, we all want people who do bad things to get their payback. And this is not saying that people who do bad things aren't going to get their just desserts. It never says that in the Bible. It says forgiveness is not the same thing as punishment. Just because you're forgiven don't mean you ain't going to be punished. But listen what it says. Do not avenge yourself. Instead, leave room. Sorry about that. Leave room for God's wrath. So it says leave room. So when you take revenge, you take in that room. So in fact, God is, oh, okay, you taking revenge for yourself. I ain't gonna do nothing. That's one way to read that. It says leave room for God's wrath. Let God take care of it. Because vengeance belongs to him. Why does it belong to God? That's a good question. Comment below what you think. Why does vengeance belong to God? It belongs to God because he's the only one with the standing to do it. He's the only one that has the right to punish anybody for any wrongdoing, because you and me, we have done wrong. We have done wrong. This is what it is. We think we've been wrong, but in fact, we've done wrong. We just haven't realized it. And oh, God will repay. I listened to a sermon recently, and it was stated that you can't teach God. You have to experience God. And I've definitely experienced God repaying people for bad. Yep. God will handle your right fragrance. God will handle your dirty work. I've seen this happen to my enemies over and over. Over and over and over again. Me too. And let me tell you something. Please hear me. Please hear me. When God exacts revenge, it pales in comparison to whatever it is you think you're doing. It pales in comparison. I mean, it's night and day. Like, you think that you doing something by, I don't even know how does a man take revenge without like just fighting? Like, you think you're doing something by getting into a fight and getting your behind whooped, and then God's going to take over. And I've seen people lose jobs. I've seen people, I've known of people getting into circumstances and situations that they knew, like they never wanted to be in. The one thing they were afraid of, The one thing they were afraid of happening happened. And I had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. So we want to let God do the repaying. And in fact, we should be nice to people. Because in fact, when you're nice to someone that's done you wrong, it makes them cringe. It makes them literally, they don't know what to do because it doesn't make any sense. Why are you being nice to me when I just did you wrong? It doesn't make any sense. And it causes them to think, why is this person being so nice to me after what I did? It's way worse. Basically, it's way worse than exacting revenge on them when you are nice to them after they did something bad to you. So, all right, I've been on here for an hour and I might be cringing when I rewatch this, but we gonna do what it do. So we talked about lording over people as a toxic masculine trait, greed, toxic masculine trait, arrogance, toxic masculine trait, and vengeance. This is only the beginning. There are many others, but you guys are going to have to stay tuned. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of stuff going on. We are on the road to 500 subscribers, and I've seen a huge uptick recently. And we are inching our way closer and closer, faster and faster. We are here to apply the Bible to all of life's craziness, and we need your help. So be sure you're sharing the video. Be sure you're telling people about the channel. Be sure you're subscribing. That's all I got for you. Y'all be cool.